of a regulator in each of the three pathways. The one I want you to remember, because this is the one we actually will test for and we talk about at all, and that is the C1q inhibitor. And since it's C1, what pathway is it going to be in? In the classical pathway. Because C1 has a QRNS molecule. I'm not making you remember all of them, just C1. That's all you need to know. But the C1q inhibitor is our main inhibitor for the classical pathway. Question number 13. What test methodology do we use to measure C3 and C4? Nephelometry. I'm just going to flat out give you the answer to that one. We use nephelometry to measure C3 and C4. That really is one of the few tests left that is on. Okay. What test measures function? Not quantity, not how much do you have, but how well your complement is functioning. What test is that? CH50. So if a doctor orders a total complement, he wants a CH50. And we get those and we get questions on those, so you may actually see that again someday, so we'll make sure that one's on there. Let's move on to cytokines and the immune response. What's the difference between a cytokine and a lymphokine?
The thing they coat?
The thing that they talk to. Lymphokines only talk to lymphocytes. Cytokines talk to everybody. Or at least talk to multiple cells. What is a cytokine or a lymphokine? What are they? What do they do?
Messengers.
Okay, and what kind? They're a chemical messenger. That helps cells communicate. Differentiate cell-mediated and humoral immunity.
I recognize T cell and the human recognizes recognize T cells.
Okay, that's true. Let's put it this way, that cell-mediated involves T cells. And ends with cytotoxic killer cells. Destroying abnormal cells. So what's it going to fight against? It's going to fight against cellular invaders, parasites, fungus, tumor cells. So it's going to fight against whole cells, full organisms. Okay. Humoral immunity is B cell mediated. And it involves antibodies, which bind and stimulate complement.
What did you say? You said it's B-cell mediated, which,
You know, humoral immunity is B-cell mediated. It involves the production of antibodies against antigens, and it will bind and stimulate the complement system. Now, it doesn't always use the complement system, but that's its primary method of killing things. Gotta make sure. Okay, one that I think probably should have been on the complement question, but we're gonna put it here with humoral immunity, that humoral immunity is B-cell mediated. It involves antibodies being formed against antigens that bind and stimulate complement. Which two antibodies bind complement?
CD.
Not see anything. IgM
MG.
and IgG. And when you get into blood bank, it's most important when IgM does it. Just trying to remember which ones were listed in there. The innate cytokines, just trying to decide how much I want you to know. Okay, these are the innate cytokines: interleukin 1, tissue necrosis factor, interleukin 6, and interferon.
Say what?
These are the four innate system ones that we need to know. IL-1 is inflammation. This looks like a matching question, or one of those questions where there's 4 in a row that add up to be a matching question. Okay. TNF increases vasodilation. IL-6 is a key role in acute phase reactant proteins. And interferon messes with viral replication. So I kind of tried to narrow that down into some, like I said, looked like a matching question to me. Okay, but you'll need to know that those are the innate ones, because another question that might come up would be, which of these is an innate cytokine and which one is not? Or the other way around, which one is? the lymphokines are our adaptive ones. IL-2 is T cell growth factor. IL-4 regulates helper T cells, which are CD4 cells, right?
Mm-hmm.
Smile, nod. And IL-10 inhibits antigen presentation. Just trying to narrow it down. List colony stimulating factors. What's one I'm most likely to throw at you? Erythropoietin, because we've talked about that one so many gazillion times. That one's pretty simple, okay? But know that that also includes erythropoietin. It would also include thrombopoietin or any of the CSFG, CSFM, or CSFGM. But I don't think I'd be nice enough to say which is a colony stimulating factor and then put CSF. I mean, come on, that's like, that's too nice. Okay, what is an antigen presenting cell for the CD4 and for the CD8? This goes back to the first thing we talked about.
Class
Okay.
2.
So our class 1 presents to the CD8. So what cells are presenting cells for CD8s?
Any nucleated cells.
Nucleated cells. And what are presenting cells for CD4?
Phagocytic.
Monocytes was phagocytic.
Right, phagocytic cells.
Those for 7.
That's for 7. Let's go down to question 11. This is a repeat one, but what the heck? We're going to add a step to it. IgM is the first one. And it's stimulated by interleukin 2. It is secreted it is secreted in response to IL-2.
IgM is?
Yeah, and then that will, and then it progresses from there.
You say IgM stimulated by interleukin.
The secretion of IgM, B cells are stimulated to produce antibodies starting with IgM by IL-2. And again, we've already talked about this next one. What antibodies in highest concentration stays around a long time?
IgG.
IgG. I don't know that I'll ask that on there since, well, frankly, we already all answered that correctly the first run through. What I might do here, since we talked about it in class, in lab yesterday, what is lag phase?
The very first before the reaction.
It's the time between exposure
And
and a reaction. Okay. That sounds like it would kind of be a,
Between exposure.
you know, I might make this into, because you all know IgM's first and IgG comes second, and You did pretty good on the anamnestic response, most of you. That sounds like it could be a nice essay question that would give you some nice points. And I'll take pictures. If you want to draw me a picture, I'll take pictures.
So that would be what we'd have to draw for lag phase.
Well, lag phase.
There.
There's
I've gotta put a
This is the lag phase in the first response, and here's the lag phase in the second
So we
response.
should know that the second exposure has a 5.
Right, right. And that's what will be on tomorrow's test. So that's what we're gonna have on tomorrow. We will review for Monday's test, or no, it's not till next Wednesday. Test is the Wednesday. Do you want to review for the test a little bit tomorrow? So that you have some direction for the weekend? And then we can review again on Monday. Basically, we'll review tomorrow, sort of what all's gonna be on it. And then Monday, what I'll do is maybe a question and answer session on things that, as you were studying over the weekend, confused you, to maybe redirect your studies a little. That help? Okay. Why don't we try that? The test next Wednesday is gonna have a lot on it, but I don't think any of it's what I call particularly difficult material. So there's a lot of material, but it's not particularly in-depth. And as we saw when we were going through PowerPoints today, a lot of it is, we repeated the same stuff a half a dozen times. So some of it has been gone over multiple times, so I probably would like hit that a little harder. So, but for tomorrow, that's what's going to be on there. Make sure you've got that MHC thing down. When it comes to immunology on the boards, that's one of the few things we've seen or that we know of that has actually come up. And that was the MHC, what cells they're on, and what they present to. Remember, immunology is only one of the things that's in that miscellaneous 20%. Okay, so hematology has its own 20%. Chemistry has its own 20%. Micro and blood bank each have their own 20%. Everything else, including serology, is lumped into that last 20%. So this is just a portion of that last 20%. So when you're hitting the books to study for the boards, you want to know all of this, but this is not where I would spend the majority of my time studying for the boards. I know somebody who just took her MLS boards last week, and she did not have a single serology question on there, not one. But she had about 15 QC questions. So it's really a random kind of hit or miss. The reason you have to know everything is you just don't know which one they're going to ask you. Okay? They're not going to pointedly go through and say, this is the questions that are going to be on there. It's, this is everything that's eligible for the test. Good luck. Okay, so like I said, hematology, I'm a little more concerned that you're getting it, the ins, the outs, the ups, the downs, and all of it. On the immunology, the testing portion of it, the one that's next Wednesday, I really think you need to know that stuff inside out of